You're muted, William. I, definitely. What's up, Jared? William will be with us here in a minute. He's still handling stuff with the behind the scenes thing for the show. So we will be unmuted here soon.
Nobody died this episode.
Not
Nobody
at all.
died. You know what? I feel cheated. I feel absolutely ripped off. Good episode. Don't get me wrong. It was intense. All right. Nobody burned to death. Nobody was beheaded. Nobody got trampled. I mean, I have expectations for Game of Thrones. I mean, death, destruction, and dismemberment, and I got nothing. That might be the first episode of Game of Thrones. Nobody died. Wow. But it was a good episode. I like the opening. What do you guys think of the opening?
Opening was good. Liked seeing the two dragons at Dragonstone.
Yeah, that's a lot of blood. Hold on, I'm talking to these guys. Yeah, the blood was kind of cool. I didn't know what it was gonna. I gotta rewatch it and see what was that. Was that all a Dragonstone, or was that all the old city, or what was that?
Well, probably you see that there's more and more blood as the intro goes on, and it all leads to the Targaryen symbol.
Yeah, which was behind the fire, which is kind of cool. I wonder if it's going to change with each. Like if you watched the old Game of Thrones, whatever was happening in the episode, it would change. Like when they took back Winterfell from the Boltons, you saw the flags drop as they passed over. So they're jumping in time next episode. She's already going to be having a kid. So
there also weren't any sigils that I recognized in the opening with it.
Nah, there was nothing.
Trying to look to see.
Yeah, and I was trying. That's why I sat over here because I wanted to see how it would break down because I knew this was going to be the first episode that had the opening, and I'm surprised that they used the same song. But I guess that's a song that is.
It's the staple.
It's not. I mean, it would be like doing a Jaws movie without that famous theme. So, but no, I thought it was pretty intense. I'm liking Damon's character more and more. I mean, he just threw that whole thing together just to piss people off. He didn't want the egg. He just wanted attention, unless I'm missing something. But
well, he took the specific egg that Rhaenyra chose for.
Yeah, as her heir.
Yeah.
So.
Placed in the crib of her brother.
Oh, they led the heir of the day. So I couldn't read. That's the only other bad thing. If they're gonna do subtitles, they gotta make them big. Because I'm like moving around trying to see what he's saying. It seemed pretty intense. When I rewatch it, I'll be able to because I couldn't see from where I was at. My eyesight's crappy. But I couldn't see what they were saying to each other, but I knew it was intense. So and basically
basically she said, "You see me as a problem, so why not just take me out right here and here?"
Yeah.
That's what she basically said when she was in front of him.
Yeah, and then she said that part in English I thought was cool. I mean, I was awful brave to see her roll in there. Otto's a piece of garbage. I can see he's going to be the series piece of trash. I don't even put him on the same level as Tywin. He's much more sleazier than yeah. I mean, well, once he pimped his teenage daughter off to the king, he was pretty much done with me then. At least Cersei was a grown woman.
Yeah.
And then before Tywin pimped her off. I mean, these guys and their daughters, these guys don't need to have daughters. These guys do not need to have daughters. But what would you rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10?
Probably like 8. Like it's definitely building tension, but it's not like.
Yeah.
It's more of like at least the first episode you had like it kind of you were supposed to set the scene with the first episode. Now they're just continuing to set the scene.
I like it better than the first episode.
You like this one better than the first episode? See, this started the way the original Game of Thrones started with a lot of the talking, a lot of the intense standoffs, a lot of this.
When you get the name of the show, Game of Thrones, you get it in like episodes like this where you see maneuvering as happening.
Yeah. The only difference between this and Game of Thrones, they got a lot of years to cover.
Yeah.
Because they're already 6 months past when we saw.
Yeah.
So if she's having a kid the next episode, that's 9. So we're starting to jump into the point where they're going to start getting replaced as actors. Because she's only going to play that role for so long before she's a woman. And then both her and Allison's actors are replaced. So yeah, and I'm wondering if they're going to go back and forth. So we'll see flashbacks of Billy Aycock and the other girl, even as they grow into women. So I thought it was, like I said, it was an intense episode. The whole Corliss thing was kind of sleazy too. You got to remember that this is their time, and she's 12, and I'm like, wow. And this old dude's walking with this 12-year-old that yeah, it's just, it's I can't look at this show through 2022 standards. All these guys would be in jail. So I mean, yeah, they still do it in certain societies. So yeah, you go overseas, man. You don't get a choice of who you marry. Yeah, this is. But yeah, like I said, they delivered a good episode without violence. I didn't think Game of Thrones could do that anymore, but they did. Like I said, I was kind of shocked. Nobody, you know.
This was a political episode.
Yeah, they die young. I don't think the king is that old. And he looks old, but I don't think he's a stressful. It's like when you see the presidents go in, they got black hair, no wrinkles and stuff. By the time that their first term is over, they got gray hair and their eyes are all baggy. Yeah. So yeah, that's what the king did. So all right, well, next episode I'm gonna start doing a replay because there's people who missed episodes. So, but I'm gonna do my live stream with good. I couldn't hear you. Yeah, I guess that's gonna be the brutal battle. I guess that's so I get my death and destruction then. All right, well, he's called the crab feeder for a reason. So he kills people and feeds them to the crabs. So. Yeah, so somebody's getting torn apart next episode. So I'll be all right. I mean, like I said, I've been promised people being burnt and torn apart, but like I said, that first
and
episode,
dragons and dragons.
Well, no, there's 2 dragons that didn't kill anybody.
Yeah, I know, but burning and dragon burning and yeah.
Yeah, but like I said, it's I don't like the build up to him announcing her as his wife, though. I didn't think that.
I knew it was going to happen because Allison was standing in the room. She wouldn't have been invited unless there was another reason.
Yeah, but see, and they built it up to lead you in a different direction, but they didn't even build that relationship up between them, or at least they didn't do it on screen. So I thought that was a little bit of a. They don't have a lot of time, I guess, to jump to certain points. But yeah, when they pulled the swords out, that was good. When they're at the bridge and there's a dragon on either end, I thought that's where I was going to get my weekly quota. But
yeah, Princess Rhaenyra was just out for a stroll. Yeah, she was just out for an evening flight, you know.
Yeah, minor kid just jumping on a dragon, flying across the narrows. I mean, that was kind of cool. But
flying across the Blackwater, you know.
Yeah, I enjoyed the episode. 8 more. 8 more. I was just wondering how many years they're going to cross over the 8 years. So, but like,
they've got a lot of time to cover.
Yeah, well, they got 20 years to cover. I don't think they're going to do it all in one season, though.
No.
I mean, they might do it all in one season, but I had fun with this episode. But I still don't have my Iron Throne. I'm still building my throne. So by episode 3, I'll have my throne here.
A lot of political maneuvering in this episode.
Yeah. So you're setting up who's gonna die.
Yeah,
they're just not gonna die. I'm figuring there Otto's gonna die at some point, and like he's gonna be one of those deaths that I enjoy.
Yeah, I think Lord Corlys needs to go the same way too.
I like Corlys. He's okay. All right.
He just tried to give his 12-year-old daughter to the king.
Another guy already tried to give his other daughter away. It's not like he's alone, but you know.
Well, but you got to keep in mind this is again based on the War of the Roses.
Well, who's a bigger asshole, Corlys or Otto?
They're both punks.
No, I think Otto's
a bigger dick. Otto's a bigger dick.
Coat on in the pimp hat, and he's just not he's not likable.
No, he's not.
He's the only character that on the thing that I don't really like. That I've already got marked for death.
I like Alicent though.
I like Alicent, but she's going to be a problem. I mean,
well, obviously.
You saw, and they showed. I don't know if you guys got to see the.
I haven't watched it. I haven't watched the after thing yet. No, I'll watch it when we get done.
So she gives birth, and she gives birth to a son. So obviously, we got problems there. Because the whole premise of the story is this is one of the major Targaryen civil wars that started the dissolution of the family. It's this one in the Blackburn Rebellion, but this was the very first one. If you read the books.
I do understand, though, why he chose Alicent over Lord Corlys' daughter, because he doesn't have 2 years left.
Well, he was pimped to her first, so.
Well, he also he doesn't.
Maybe if Corliss had made a move.
He didn't have. Well, look, she wasn't going to be able to breed to the king for 2 years.
That's
So
true.
he doesn't have 2 years. He's already dying from whatever's causing the rot. Because
Yeah.
now it's gotten to his finger because they were doing the maggot thing with his hand.
Yeah, the maggot thing was the closest I got to my 3Ds.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's go look in the chat room and see. I see Clint's there. Monkey Jeebus and an old people joke. You know, and I wouldn't feel okay if you weren't there for me, Monkey Jeebus. Thank you. Let's see. Yes, there's definitely backstabbing going on. This whole series.
I honestly think, William, that Stella's here waiting with the insure, that she was going to deliver to me and you.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, once again, I had to mute myself because of
the after show thing. You don't want to copyright
yourself.
yourself.
I don't want to get anything, and I thought it was going to be shorter this time, but they actually longer. Shit, they're like almost their own episode. But this episode was good tension building. Like I said, unlike the original Game of Thrones, they weren't doing time jumps. Whatever was happening the next day or within weeks or within the same time frame. You really didn't jump any significant time further. They're literally, like I said, last episode is 6 months away from this episode. And then the next episode, yeah, she's pregnant and the kid's already been born. That's 9 months. So you already got almost a year and a half between episode 1 and episode 2. So at some point during the season, we're going to see the full-grown, Alicent and full-grown Rhaenyra, and they're going to start, once he dies, that's when it really intensifies as far as the heir goes. He's named her the heir, but as they showed during this episode, it's not necessarily what the king says; it's what he can get support for, and that's why Corlys was able to get up and say those kind of things to the king without losing his head, because he's not going to execute the master of ships. That is
he's also one of the last of the bloodline of Old Valyria too.
Yeah, and he has allies. And and that's why he thought he could offer up his daughter and it wouldn't be an issue. But you can already see with the alliances. I can already guess where he's going to line up. Obviously, you saw at the end of the episode if you got who he lines up with. But I don't. Matt Smith is one of those guys in this. As Damon is going to get better with each episode.
I was listening to an interview with him earlier, and they asked him about the nudity in House of Dragons, and he was like, "Yeah, unfortunately, there's that."
Yeah, you know what? If you sign up for Game of Thrones, you have to know that that's going to be, and it's unless you're the underage girls, they're not going to do anything. But they're grown actors, and actually, I mean, they knew what they signed up for, especially if they know the previous series. But there was none of that in this episode too, by the way.
No.
Not a whorehouse, not anything, no sex scenes, no nothing. This was a very cerebral episode.
Yeah.
It's a very, very cerebral episode. So
political maneuvering.
It's weird because there are those episodes in the first series, but there were few and far in between, and they were setup episodes. And it's been so long since we had an episode that was just a mental chess game that I'd forgotten they could still do it. And especially when you had the first episode of this one, that was so violent and brutal. I mean, in that first episode, people died in all manner, but fine. The only bodies that got burned in episode 1 were the bodies that were already dead, of the son and the mother. But when you start off the episode with castrations, beheadings, stabbings, killings, the tournaments, and childbirth death, and then you roll into an episode like this, it took me a while it's probably going to take me a little bit while to appreciate this episode, but it was a very good episode.
Yeah.
So I don't have my light on this particular camera right now. I just realized how dark I was because they got something going on behind me. So I am pretty dark lit for this show, but yeah, right. It was a good episode. The third episode is going to be more intense. It's just starting to see them move things and people into place. And for those of you who have read the stories and already know pretty much what happens, you understand you understand where they're going with this. Allison reminds me of Marjorie. Yeah, she does. Yeah. When you first see Marjorie, though, Marjorie's much more calculating because of her grandmother pretty much already doing
Aren't
her.
the Tyrells? Aren't the Tyrells what's left of House Hightower?
What's that?
Aren't the
Yes.
Tyrells what's left of House
Yes.
Hightower? Yeah.
Yes. And pretty much that house is done. If you watch the original series, after they sacked Sunspirit. But yeah, if you when you first see Marjorie, she's much more calculating because of who her grandmother is. Her grandmother was slick.
The
But
Rose.
yeah, Allison, you're seeing her before she gets. They're all going to get corrupted. But
Yeah.
you're seeing a lot of these people, and they're building the groundwork so that you can have an appreciation for just how corrupt these guys are going to become. Like same thing with Damon. Right now, Damon's a jerk and he's impetuous and he's got a lot of things going
How about
against him
the
in the
how
beginning.
about the little how about the little tete-a-tete between Rhaenyra and Rhaena?
Yeah, but she was right.
True.
She's right. She's right. And she wasn't just. She knows because she went right through it. She went through it. She was the queen that never was and was supposed to be, and she got passed over solely because she was a female. And you can hear from her talking that she's a very capable mind. And
Yeah.
she was giving her advice. She was giving her advice that and she didn't want to hear it. And I still think Rhaenyra is naive enough to think that hey, I name me heir. That's going to be it. But the problem you're going to have though is the fact that, like I said, half of the realm is going to support her, and the other realm half is going to support is going to support Allison and her heir, and that is going to split things up. And like I said, this is I don't know how long they're going to stay on this particular storyline because when you say House of the Dragon, this is just one part of it. This is the Targaryens at the height of their reign. So but there are a lot of things that happen in the next 172 years that lead to the point where it made them susceptible to Robert's rebellion. If you look at this house as it is right now, and these last few episodes and the first episodes of this show, there's no way that what happens in Game of Thrones ever happens to these guys. They got 10 dragons. They got a family. They have extended family. They have the Valerians. They have everything. They have the only thing that could have torn this dynasty apart was them. And it just doesn't happen overnight. What we're seeing here, which is the story that's being depicted here, if you don't want to spoil it or don't read it, is it? Well, I've already spoiled a lot of stuff. Is the Dance of Dragons. But the Dance of Dragons is just a couple of things that weakened the Targaryen dynasty over the next almost 200 years, to the point where there was only a handful of them left. There were no dragons left, and their alliances have been weakened. You look at their strength of their allies. The alliances here, they're strong. They're strong. You look at the way the city looks. You look at the way everything looks. Everything is taken care of. And by the time you get to Arya or Game of Thrones, everything is run down. King's Landing is a ghetto. If you notice, if you look at the realm now, the realm is all polished. It's as clean as it's ever been. And when you get to actual Game of Thrones, Flea Bottom is basically an awful place. You see the sewage. You hear Devils describing how the raw sewage just runs through the streets. That didn't happen in this era of the Targaryens. So I'm not a big fan of prequels, but you get a chance to appreciate what these guys are talking about. And when you hear the name Targaryen, it's not just Daenerys or Jon Snow. You start to see now. What I'm going to be interested in is how they interlace this prophecy from this episode on. Is this going to be something that was just something a mention of, a backdrop? But there are things that are going to happen that we already know that are relevant. But we also got to understand that there are spinoffs too that might happen to take place. We have one that takes place after the events of Game of Thrones, and we have spinoffs that might take place in between them. So they may not just be setting the stage just for this show. They may be setting the stage for an entire universe that might span 1,000 years. All right. Okay, I'm calling the king is dying, and you know what? Let's go ahead and make an even bet. They're all going to die. I'm going to bet you at some there's probably going to be people that survive this, and this is without spoiling it, even though this is a spoiler show. There are going to be people who die in this show that aren't even born yet because of the time jump that they're using to do this. So I'm assuming that the way all these scumbags deserve to die. Eventually, all these characters on the show will become hateable characters that need to die. Right now, Otto's at the top of my list. Otto's at the top of my list, but they have not introduced some of the characters that will eventually be problems. We haven't seen Aemon Targaryen yet. The Wide, he's going to be a problem. And there are certain people that are introduced now that are like Kristen, the Knight. He ends up
Cole.
Yeah, Kristen. A lot of these guys right now, the first 2 episodes, we're only seeing the beginning of the sides that they're going to choose. And a lot of we haven't had the schism yet. There's one particular main guy that chooses a very significant side, and once he chooses that side, I think his character is going to be even more evolved than it is now, and that's Daemon. Daemon's character has evolved tremendously just through the first 2 episodes of the show. If they keep it true to the books, it's going to evolve even that much more. I am told, and I've seen from when they do all the interviews, that Daemon Targaryen is the most complicated character of the show. Things aren't as clear with him as they are with everybody else. His motives aren't as clear. His hatreds are, he hates Otto. But I hate Otto too. So, but his relationship with his brother is complicated. So it's a lot of there's a lot of stuff that just has to be laid out. And like I said, although I love to have the violence and the bludgeoning and the death, these episodes that they just put out are very important. We have to have these episodes so that all of the violence actually means something. Even when it comes to the sex scenes, if they don't lay the groundwork for the relationships, the sex scenes are just gratuitous. It's just like a slasher movie where we're just seeing TNA. But if you notice when they did it in the first episode, it was appropriate. They were in a whorehouse. It was that era. That's how they looked. And he was with his mistress. He was with his advisor. So that's how he illustrated that. This episode, they didn't have any reason to illustrate that. The same 2 people were in the scene where it was intense, but it was her. You get to learn more about her history of slavery, and how she looks at him as a liberator. So you're starting to see people that see Daemon Targaryen in a different way, depending on how their relationship is with him. So he's already the most complicated character. And he wasn't on screen very much this episode. He had a scene at that bridge at Dragonstone with the 2 dragons, and he had a scene with his mistress. But he loomed over the whole episode. So let me get to the chat room. Why is that TC standing? Oh. This is I forgot to mention my host. We were at the Square Bar in Las Vegas, and let me show you guys. So right there's the screen that the giant screen. It's about an 18-foot screen. That's where we were watching the episode on. Everything's muted now, so we don't have any copyright issues. This is a screen that actually goes horizontal as well and can be moved onto the stage, for various different reasons. Karaoke if they want to, but anything, it's all wired into the store or into the bar. And then the episodes play on all the screens around us, and then there's more screens around here. But yeah, it shows you the menu, it shows you everything. But if there's an advertisement for a show or something like that, they can put that on here, and it's really kind of neat. So it's on wheels. So yeah, that's pretty neat. Let me switch that around. So yeah, we're at the Square Bar. If you've ever been to Vegas, if you've ever been to the Sci-Fi Center, Square Bar is in the same plaza as me. So if you guys get a chance, they have a great menu. They have like I told you, the spam covered hot dogs, which is probably taking years off my life every time I eat one. They have a giant meatball sandwich. They have all the beer in the community. I don't know what every standard bar has, but it is a 70-themed bar, and it's right in our plaza. So it's easier. It's easy just to get my stuff and go over there to. It's only about a couple hundred feet to be able to drag all my stuff to. They dim the light, and I have backlit behind behind me, and that's what's causing me to be a little bit darker. But I don't have my ring light on because I'm in a smaller area. But no, we get together here, and it's been. It was 3 years before we had anything to get excited about with Game of Thrones. So people are slowly starting to embrace it again. Word of mouth is getting out about that the very first episode. We have people coming out. I'm getting a lot of contact about it. I'm getting a lot of people that, we do replays of the episode too, so people come in when they replay it online. So it's just a fun atmosphere to be. Eventually, I'm gonna build it up here to where people come dressed up. And I'm still working on my Game of Iron Throne that they can take pictures of, and we'll have stuff here for people. But right now, we're just testing a lot to see just if that connection is still there with Game of Thrones. People watching it at their house, 20 million people, no problem there. But where Game of Thrones was fun for me is when we got people together to watch these acid scenes or whatever going on. To me, Game of Thrones is like a sporting event. Yeah, it's cool on TV, but certain sporting events, if you're there, it's much more cooler. So that's what we're trying to build up here. And then, like I said, being able to do the show, I got, we're still getting new tech. I got a brand new mic. You guys can't see it in the dark, but I had it on the other stream. But I got a brand new mic, portable mic, and everything else. So the sound quality, I hope, is much better. Let me know if I sound like crap.
I can barely hear you.
Okay. How about now?
It's a little bit better.
Okay. Yeah, plus I got sound on in the back. I think it might cancel things out, but there we go. But yeah, I got a brand new mic. I'm still working it a little bit and configuring my windows. What I want to do is get some people to sit here next to me, configure up the cameras and everything else. And so, because when you first heard me talking, I'm talking to the people that are here to watch it, but you probably couldn't hear me that well because they're a couple feet away. What I want to have is a co-host here and have that co-host go to each table with a microphone so they can so you guys can hear their discussions. Because we're talking before we air the show. We're talking like right afterwards sometimes when I'm muted. And then, like I said, I just want to get people's feelings of the episode as they're watching it. This episode, not as much because, like I said, it was an intense episode, but it wasn't the standard Game of Thrones fare. There was no shocking into anything. There was no, really, no significant deaths, so that. But next week, I think we're going to have that episode. If you look at Game of Thrones, those episodes 3, 4, 5, and 6, they get real intense, and then that penultimate episode. So for us, it will be episode 9. That's when things start to pick up as far as the violence, the deaths, and the tension goes. So it looks like we're headed towards the same schematic that they used for the original series, which I'm okay with. All right, cool. Glad you just finished. What did you think, Samir? I gave it a solid 7. It did what it was supposed to do. It set the table. Like I said, I got spoiled last week. So, all right, let's see. Yeah, the king is rotting. Yeah, we are. Yeah, the Otto's dead. All right, I got Monkey Jeebus still making fun of me. Yeah, no 3Ds this week. Not 1D. Not one death. Not one dismemberment. And there was no destruction. And, I guess I'll have to accept it. All right. Yeah, just a closed horror, no sex. What gives, man? This is literally a G-rated Game of Thrones episode. So, yes, bro, the show is definitely heating up. It's definitely heating up, and you can start to see the people who are viewing the King is weak enough to start making alliances with people that they would have never done, and that's where you're going to start seeing the realm start to split up. All right, they're going back into the past because George R. R. Martin finished the book. He made a deal with the devil and he dies when he finishes it. Yeah, we've been waiting on that book for 6 years now. To be honest with you, though, if we have a good showrunner, I'm okay with having stories based on the book. I don't need the content to follow the book exactly. Like I said before, I know what happens in Dance of the Dragons, but I am 100% okay with them throwing that book away and killing. That way, I'd rather not know who dies, to be honest with you. So, but, that's how they go. All right, we got a Rogue Dragon Knight Damon taking over. Yeah, that was ballsy. And once again, that is another person looking at Viserys as being weak enough to where he's not going to do anything about it. So yeah, and same thing with Otto. Otto is playing into his weakness. Sending his daughter in. Preying on his grief and everything else. I did like the conversations that the daughter, father and daughter had as far as them continuing to deal with the grief of their mother. And I thought that Rhaenyra's character grew this episode to where she's starting to fly into that I don't give a fuck zone. She got on that dragon, went to Dragonstone, could have been killed, didn't get any permission to do it, got in the middle of those guys, told Otto Hightower to basically go fuck himself. And, oh, by the way, that dragon behind me, if you try to restrain me and take me back to whatever, that dragon's probably going to set you on fire. And then that scene was the best scene of the whole show, was seeing his dragon and her dragon and everybody in between them. The two people with the power were the people with the dragons. And you saw that look of terror in his eyes when Syraxis landed on him. And, after Otto talked all that madness about, you can't win this. I'm like, yeah, I got a dragon, dude. And then, but when you see both of the dragons there and on opposite ends like that, I thought that was the coolest scene so far. So, golden years. What can you want on episode 2? What more can? In the long scheme of things, like I said, I mean, I've been spoiled with Game of Thrones as far as getting certain things that are almost they're staples in every Game of Thrones episode. But this one was a change of pace. I didn't mind this episode at all because we got 8 episodes to give me all the death and destruction I think we're going to be able to handle. So I think we're fine there. So, all right. Ooh, maybe. Good point.
Nothing's hit us yet. So
yeah, they haven't shut us down yet. The very worst they might do is they might demonetize it. But I think I'm speaking enough over it to where it's in the.
You
background.
are.
Yeah.
The lyrics aren't real clear.
Yeah. Now with the Game of Thrones though, with the way we have the sound set up, that's actually blurring through, and you can actually clearly hear that because I was watching it on the other stream. And Warner Brothers is a little bit different when it comes to their stuff, and mainly because I'm on a live broadcast. If I were showing stuff like trailers and all that stuff like that, we get permission. It's different when it's on a live broadcast on a subscription service. I don't want to get Enosh in trouble.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's see. They need a baby dragon that can carry around like Baby Yoda. Yeah. Well, we had Daenerys carry around baby dragons, so 3 of them for a while. Oh, yeah. Well, dude, that opening was great. We were talking to a person here about how cool that opening was. It was just blood. It's blood running through the cities and like that. And I didn't know what it was going to turn into, but hearing that classic Game of Thrones, I was wondering what kind of sound we were going to get, what kind of music we were going to get when it comes to Game of Thrones, But then they gave you the iconic one, and and that was the right move. All right. So let's see. I think we covered a lot of bases. Covered a lot of bases today. Yeah, a lot of fun today. I got to rewatch the episode because a lot of the problems that I had were when they went to subtitles, and I was sitting in the back. I couldn't read the subtitles, so I'm gonna.
Yeah, the subtitles were so tiny.
Yeah, they were very tiny. I got the gist of what they were talking about. Especially when they started talking English, but when they talk Valerian like that, they gotta brighten up those subtitles, man. I mean, I could have probably put it on closed caption, but I don't think Valerian is in the closed captioning menu. But like I said, I had a lot of fun with this episode as far as like just the people talking around people. I'm Daryl Taylor. I'm loving the mind games, etc. Yes, and trust me, they pay for those mind games. What you're seeing here is a game where nobody's going to win because the biggest loser is going to be the Targaryen dynasty. And the byproduct of that over the next 200 years is having a loser like Robert Baratheon having claim to the throne. That's how weak. And I like the way they're showing you the target. Like I said, the contrast between what's going on here and what we saw in Game of Thrones is so vast. And they would have never been able to take this. I mean, by the time Robert's Rebellion happened, there are no dragons. There hadn't been a dragon for 100 years that they were saying, and then the last ones were the only boots of the size of small dogs or whatever. And here you're seeing these giant dragons just fly through the air. And at some point, he said during the first season, we're going to get 10 of them, 17 total in this entire series. So we went from basically the first full season of Game of Thrones, we didn't see dragons until the last episode. And then for the seasons after that, you saw them growing until the point where they were big enough. But those dragons in Game of Thrones were nowhere near as big as the dragons that you're seeing now. And there's other dragons,
I like how Lady Lannis was talking about how Viserys was the last dragon rider for Balerion.
Yeah, he wasn't he wasn't on him that long. He never made a connection. He never made a connection with loving the mind. Boost blindness can see as much possible as some scenes. Yeah, some of the scenes are so dark. I adjusted. We had to adjust our projector here to make it to where we could see, because like I said, the only thing I'm gonna have to figure out here is there's contrast lighting and certain things that come up and down in the things that we have. That like right now you can kind of see me, and then there's other scenes you can't. So we have competing lighting, and this thing right here we turn off while the show is on. But you have lighting because it is in Vegas, so we have to like measure the light to where we get all the projector can bleed out on the screen. So yeah, it's just I'm gonna have to figure out some ways to do it. Right where there's a big window that sits right now. The sun's gone down now, and this show is going to last until October 30th, so we're going to be beyond daylight savings. It's going to be different from then, because when the show started, it was daylight, and there's a big window here, and then there's a screen here. But once daylight savings hit, we still have about daylight savings is not until November, so this show ends on October 23rd, but it should still be darker. Okay. I do that in video games and movies. I feel immersed. Yeah. Let's see. Blood throwing some streets. All right. That's it. I mean, I think I'll probably go into more detail later on once I rewatch the episode. A lot of times when we're watching the episode, I'm answering, doing chats and other things, and I'm talking to people about it. I'm talking to people who are going to be watching it with me later on, so I don't get to watch the episode in detail like I really want to.
We could talk about it on Friday.
Yeah, we'll probably talk about it on Friday, and plus we'll dive deeper into it when we go back to doing our overnights. I couldn't do my overnights last night because I was too tired.
Yeah, of course.
Wow, it was dude. We did Rocky Horror, and by the time we were done moving all those props, so my calves were hurting.
Dude, we were suspecting you were tired.
Yeah, and I was gonna do an overnighter tonight, but I gotta watch this episode again because, like I said, right now I'm talking based on the scenes that we saw. But I want to do it.
Well, I wouldn't have been able to be with you for very long tonight anyway if you were doing it overnighter. I got things to do tomorrow. So
yeah, I think I'm gonna rest. I think these old phones are gonna
rest. You probably should, boss.
Yeah, it was a wild weekend. So and then we'll preview episode 3 too. Fat Damon. Oh yeah, he does look like a Fat Damon. That's me. You guys are cold blood. But yeah, this is the mistresses in this show they have no standing. They're basically there. I mean, some are wiser than others. But
hey, but at least she has a brain in her head because she knows all she's worth.
I think we're going to see more of her in a she's not submissive. You can clearly see that she's smart.
Yeah.
I think if you remember Tyrion's mistress and later on Tywin's mistress,
Shay, yeah,
smaller, a lot smarter than just a regular whore that So she's multi-layered. She knows how to stand by his side and look regal. She looked very regal until she found out that he used her as bait. And that's basically what he did. He used her as bait. To get under his brother's skin. And not only his brother's skin, to get under Otto Hightower. That was hilarious when he said, "Where's the king? I don't see the king." And without, he's basically dismissed all of his men. Like, screw you guys. So I have really, like I said, I'm going to love this episode the more I watch it. But I think this is the episode 3 is going to be the real setup episodes. And as we get closer to the end game of this season, we're going to start seeing, I think we'll be at a full-scale war by the time of the season. The way that they're jumping, I think we're going to be at the full scale Dance of the Dragons that will be before, I'm guessing, episode 7. So,
Yeah.
all right, guys, that is it. That's our quick wrap up, our spoiler wrap up of this particular episode, House of Dragons. We will do more in detail this Friday at Sci-Fi Center Live at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, and then we'll go into a deeper dive of it. I'm going to bring up some historical elements of some of the things that we're watching, and some of the things I've had a couple episodes to really present them well because I didn't know how they were going to do them. But there are some things in this episode. I'm getting a lot of questions. I have a little chat that's off the screen. I'm getting a lot of questions about what certain things mean. So I'm going to try to present them to you guys in a way that does not spoil them for you, but gives you kind of a reference of what these houses mean. When he says Driftmark, you haven't seen Driftmark yet. When he says I can give you the history of the Valerians real easy without spoiling things for you if you haven't read the books. So I'm going to go a little bit more deeper when we're not, when I got my full setup going. But yeah, we're going to get ready for episode 3, and I will post the previews of that. And we'll do another Sci-Fi Center Live from the Square Bar right after the episode airs. And in the meantime, I'm going to work on getting a microphone for the people that are, that come in. Because like I said, you guys heard me talking, but you couldn't hear the microphone. And I got to figure out a way to get the microphone and block out the ambient sound. I'm pretty sure there's a setting on these things. Like right now,
you should be able to get a filter.
Yeah, to where I can filter background talking so that I can just zero in on the person who's talking. And I want to be able to filter out the background music too, to where it's like a blurred thing. So I'll get with Enosh on that. I'm pretty sure he knows how to do that. But like I said, still in my first year of YouTube, guys. So it's like it would be like me going into the lithium chambers or engineering on the Enterprise and never being on a spaceship before. So that's where I'm at. So let me go over go back to things that happened. This is a good setup episode.
Yeah,
right, go ahead.
The thing with Lena is actually kind of based Lena Valerian.
Yeah,
it's kind of based on history. She's based on a character, a person from history called Marjorie Beaufort, who was married to one of the kings very, very young. She actually had his child at 13.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to do it. They had like the actresses that play these girls are in their 20s. They would not be able to portray this show the way the books and the way the actual Times did it. There's no way. There's just as brutal and as stark as this show is. If they actually portrayed the things on screen, this show would be taken off the air, man. It would be so controversial. So, as horrible as it looks of them selling off their daughters and whoring off their daughters to all these people and their teenagers, realize how young. Rhaenyra is 8 in the series. So you're talking about, and she's going to do some things even at her young age are controversial. But they're using grown men and women to play these roles. If they use the ones,
I like how they noted Rhaenyra's and Alicent's age at 15 in this show.
Yeah, and there's just no way in hell. So. All right, guys, that is it for this week, and we will see you back with more Blood and Fire throughout the week, and back here next Saturday. Next Sunday for Game of Thrones, episode 3. I don't know what the title is yet, but I know it's an over an hour-long episode. I'll get the title. This Heir to the Throne is this last one. I didn't even pay attention to the title of this one. But when I rewatch it, I'll watch it. But I hope everybody enjoyed the show. See ya.
See you guys.